Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Oracle. It is time for another update, and on this chart we have been tracking this idea of a large leading diagonal that could take place and could be very close to having a full count in this interpretation, because within this fifth wave to the upside we would only expect to form an ABC structure to consider this pattern complete. In such a scenario we would only need the fifth wave to complete this wave C. Now this could mark a very major top, but is this going to be the case? Well, not necessarily. There are many scenarios that allow further extensions higher. I could even consider this structure to still be part of this wave 3 to the upside. We would then instead expect a 5-wave move to form within this area. We would then expect still another larger correction in a wave 4 and the 5th wave to still form before we would have a more significant top. And there are even other interpretations. Right now I might actually prefer this idea of an extended wave 3, but it could also be the case that this would be a double 1-2-1-2 setup. We would have a third wave up, fourth wave down, and then a fifth wave in this area. We would form an overall impulse. We would then expect this fifth wave to form a 5-wave move to the upside, to form then another correction in wave 4 and another fifth wave before we would consider this entire structure complete even in that scenario. And we can always see extensions, so no, I wouldn't necessarily focus on the exact large time frame structure. Interpretations are possible that allow severe and serious extensions still higher, even once we have a more significant top within this area. Now, within this wave C, we have been tracking this idea of an ending diagonal in which we already have ideally completed the wave 1, 2, and 3. The wave 3 could of course still extend higher, but for now we are focusing on the wave 4 correction into the area of support between the $231 all the way down to the $118.6 level. So far we have been focusing even more specifically on the 38.2% retracement, which is the ideal target for the wave 4. And we have even been looking for a possible bottom within this area, but unfortunately it's been a bit disappointing. The structure that has formed from the current low is a bit disappointing, and there are a couple of reasons I wouldn't necessarily consider it a bottom to be in place within this wave 4 correction. So firstly, this wave 2 is much larger than the current correction in the wave 4. I would expect a similar proportion correction within the wave 4, maybe even larger than what we had in the wave 2. So as of right now, yeah, this is not really the case. And it's not that it's impossible to have the bottom within the wave 4, but it's certainly going to weigh in to the likelihood of further extensions within this wave 4 correction. Then secondly, the structure that has formed to the upside is only in 3 waves, and not only that, but it is within an interpretation that allows a much further extension lower. So previously, we have been tracking an internal 5-wave move to the downside within this area that could have marked a more significant bottom. Yeah, within this structure, we actually are able to track an ABC pattern as complete, and it is technically, again, possible that we have bottomed within this wave 4, but we need to be extremely cautious of possible extensions higher. So within this structure, we are also able to track this idea of a double 1-2-1-2 setup instead of an AB setup. This would be a third wave down. Instead, we would then be tracking a wave 4 correction and a fifth wave, and then we would still need even another 4-5 pattern to complete this wave to the downside. And you might be thinking, okay, is that what we need to do to have a complete structure, to have a complete correction within this area, within this wave 4? And unfortunately, no. If we actually build this entire structure, I would be tracking this only as the initial 5-wave move to the downside within a wave A. I would still be looking for a retracement, yeah, I would still be looking for higher prices, but then I would highly expect at the very least another 5-wave move to the downside within a wave C. Yeah, even more bearish interpretations could work out, but this would be the least I would expect if we build this entire initial 5-wave move to the downside. And right now we would still be within an internal wave 3, and for this we would have internal levels of resistance we would track within this area between the $204 all the way up to the $239 level. And in fact, what I would like to see for this wave 4 in yellow to be complete would be a similar pattern with what we actually built internally in the orange interpretation. In this extension to higher prices, we have built exactly a 3-wave move to the upside in an ABC structure. This is what I would want to see in the larger yellow interpretation, and so far again we can track this as such, an ABC structure, but it is very easily able to extend lower. In fact, the internal structure within this area does suggest that we should prefer such an interpretation, such an extension lower. And if we are, however, to break above the last level of resistance, the 50% retracement, this would actually be a very, very strong signal that a more significant bottom within this wave 4 could be in place. Yeah, we would not have the initial 5-wave move to the downside. We would not expect with high probability continuation within at least another 5-wave move to the downside after the 3-wave correction. Yeah. Now, in this area, we can track extensions higher within this wave 4, but I would not have too high hopes for this to exceed the area of resistance. I wouldn't necessarily expect it with high probability to manage to get through, and that is based on the current internal structure within this area. Yeah, we have here formed a 5-wave move to the upside. We were looking for a 3-wave correction, or I was looking at least internally, and then we were looking for another 5-wave move to the upside. We got this, but right now we have retraced too deep to consider this a possible double 1-2-1-2 setup. Yeah, we can track a larger ABC structure, but unfortunately it's nothing too highly suggestive of even further continuation higher. Sure, it could be an extension within this wave 4 in orange, but it's not going to be a high probability interpretation, and for this I would be mostly looking for a signal that if we break the last level of support in the white interpretation, we should be prepared for a more direct descent in the 5th wave in this area. And another warning that we do have within this structure is that I could track this as an initial 5-wave move to the downside. This is actually a warning that we should expect a 3-wave correction, but then at the very least another 5-wave move to the downside. Now, this could still work out even within this wave B in white, but at the moment, yeah, I do prefer another low to have only a 3-wave pattern in this area, or to extend in a more direct fashion in the orange interpretation in the 5th wave to the downside, within which we are tracking a 5-wave move. Even an impulse is the case to be tracked right now. Yeah, I'm looking here for a wave 2 correction and then a 3rd wave to follow. Now, in such an interpretation, I would have also an internal level of resistance that I could track, and this would be at the levels between the $194.5 all the way up to the $203 level at a 78.6% retracement. If we manage to break above the $203 level, it is a decent signal that this larger wave 4 would see extensions in a pretty direct fashion. Yeah, I wouldn't expect then to have a reset within the wave B necessarily anymore. It is certainly possible, and I would need to see a break above the beginning of this structure to the downside for a signal that, yeah, this is formal invalidation. I cannot track this as a 1-2 setup anymore, but as of right now, yeah, we are still looking for higher prices into this area of resistance, and then at the very least another 5-wave move to the downside. Now, again, this could be within the wave B in white, doesn't need to be exactly the wave 3 in orange, but there is certainly a high risk within this area to extend lower. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.